So let's start with putting the food in the mouth. This is the oral cavity. This is the oral cavity. This is the nasal cavity here. And these bumps are the nasal concha. So we have 3 salivary glands. One of them is located here. Okay. This is the submandibular gland, and then there's another one here. Okay, this is the sublingual gland. Now on the other side, we get a good view of the carotid gland, and then we can see a little bit of the submandibular gland on the other side here as well. All right, so when we eat, food is going to go into the oral cavity. And then from the oral cavity, it is going to enter the throat, which is the pharynx. Now this one doesn't show the pharynx very well or at all, so you'll just have to go on faith knowing that it is there. This is the hyoid bone, and then we can see the thyroid cartilage here, and this is the thyroid. So this portion here, lying right here behind the thyroid cartilage, behind the thyroid gland, this is the larynx. Vocal cords would be in there. So the area of the larynx. Now, if you look really closely, here where you see these little rings, these light blue rings here, this is the trachea. This is the trachea. And these rings that we're seeing here, these are the cartilaginous rings of the trachea. The cartilaginous rings of the trachea. Okay, guys, so this is the trachea that you're seeing here. These are the lungs, okay? And you might recall that that our principal muscle of respiration is going to be the diaphragm. So this is a portion of the diaphragm that you're seeing here on the lower portion of the lungs. When I remove these lungs and turn them around, here is more of the diaphragm, okay, the principal muscle of respiration. And then here as well. So you might recall that the diaphragm is the structure that separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominopelvic cavity. All right, if I point to any of this as well, we can call this diaphragm also. Okay, so diaphragm. Let me remove the liver first so you can see the proximity of the heart to the stomach. So I'm removing the liver. And the cardiac sphincter is right here. So that's why it has the name cardiac sphincter. Okay. And then, of course, we have the cardiac region here. So it's kind of close to the heart. I'm going to go ahead and remove the heart so we can see more of these structures. Okay. So now that I have the heart removed, this red thing, this is the aorta, but next to it, this structure here, this is the esophagus. Okay. So this is the esophagus in this model. The esophagus is going to go through the thoracic cavity and enter the abdominopelvic cavity right here. Okay, so this is still esophagus right here. So I'm going to remove the stomach now. Right? So it sits like that. So the cardiac sphincter is going to be the gateway for food to enter from the esophagus into the stomach. Okay, so this first portion is the so this is going to be the cardiac sphincter. This area nearby the cardiac sphincter is the cardiac region. This kind of bump thing here, this hump, this is the fundic region or the fundus. Okay. The bulk of this is going to be the body region. As I continue to go in this direction, I'm going to get to the pyloric region. And then food is going to exit in the form of chyme. It's going to exit the stomach at the pyloric sphincter. Okay. Now this one doesn't open up, but if I were to open this up, I would see the rugae, which are the folds that are inside of the stomach. So after the food passes, or the chyme I should say, passes through the pyloric sphincter or the pyloric valve, then we are right here. Okay. This is the beginning of the duodenum. Right? So this is the duodenum. It's the first of the 3 segments of the small intestine. So this is the duodenum, and then on this model, the duodenum is going to continue and go in this direction, and then it will go underneath this this yellow stuff here. Okay. And then it will continue to go down as the jejunum first, and then turn into the ileum. So the duodenum is the hot spot for digestion. It is going to receive pancreatic juices that are filled with pancreatic juices, which are filled with digestive enzymes from the pancreas. So this structure here is the pancreas. And this right here is the pancreatic duct. The pancreatic duct. Okay. And in this model, this is what the liver looks like in this model. And the fun features are here in the back. So here in green, this is the gallbladder, and here we have the left and right hepatic ducts, which come together to form the hepatic duct, which is then going to combine with the ducts coming from the gallbladder to be the common bile duct. Okay, the gallbladder is going to store and concentrate bile from the liver. And when we have a especially fatty meal, it's going to deliver that extra concentrated bile to the duodenum. Okay, but it does not make the bile, it stores and concentrates it. Bile is made here in the liver. So, and what bile does is bile is going to break down fats or lipids. We are now at the jejunum of the small intestine. Now the jejunum is going to start on kind of the superior portion here, and then it's going to kind of convolute around in this area, and then it's going to turn into the ileum, and it's going to be in this area here. The food will leave the small intestines and will enter this area of the large intestines, which is called the cecum. So this is the cecum. And the gateway, it's not really shown here in this model, but remember that the gateway between the ileum of the small intestine and the cecum of the large intestine, or colon, is the ileocecal valve. The ileocecal valve. Okay. So this is the cecum portion of the large intestine, or colon. Then, from here, the material is going to go up the ascending colon, and then it's going to traverse the transverse colon. Let me go ahead and take this out so we can see some of this detail a little bit better. This is the cecum, the ascending colon, the transverse colon. Rotate it around a little bit. Okay. Transverse colon. Then it will go down the descending colon. This is the descending colon. And this one shows the sigmoid colon very nicely. Okay. So it forms kind of this S shape afterwards, and this is the sigmoid colon, Okay. Now there's one more structure that I want to show you. So now if I flip this around, you see that, okay, this is the area, this is the cecum. And you might remember on the other model, I had the appendix kind of hanging down from this point. In this model, this is the cecum. Now when I turn this around, the appendix in this model is actually hiding right here. So this little tail thing looks like a mouse tail. This is the appendix, okay, a vestigial organ that used to give us the ability to digest cellulose, which we no longer have. All right, so this is the sigmoid colon. Oops, where am I? The sigmoid colon. All right. Now, after the sigmoid colon, go back to our model here. I'm going to continue here. This is still part of the sigmoid colon. When this straightens out, remember rectus means straight. So where it straightens out is where the rectum is. Okay, so this is going to straighten out right here, and it's going to continue behind, this is the bladder, actually. It's going to continue behind the bladder as the rectum, and then your feces will leave the body through the anal sphincter. This is the spleen right here. Okay, this is a kidney. Okay, so we do the renal portion. This is a kidney over here. And these, on top of the kidneys, these are the adrenal glands. So the kidneys are going to form the urine and then The urine is going to go through these structures here. These are the ureters, and the ureters connect with the bladder, okay? And the bladder is going to store the urine, and then when you are ready to relieve yourself, your urine is going to leave the body from the bladder through the urethra.